SISD, how you doing? Good to see y'all. Hope you all are doing well in these times. We will be resuming drum set lesson week 4, I believe. And today's topic, we will be adding another drum fill as well as another idea called snare comping, or comping in general, and we'll get into that later on. But real quick, just a quick refresher. We've been talking about what to play as a drummer in jazz band. What's the main beat that we need to know? And it's our jazz band swing beat, and that has the jazz ride pattern, which is this, as well as we have 2 and 4 on the snare and the hi-hat, and we have 4 quarter notes going on the bass drum. So let me demonstrate that real quick. So, if you need to refresh your mind on that, go ahead and go back to the other 2 videos that I posted, so you can just kind of remember and see what you can grab from there. But today's topic, we're going to be talking about another drum fill that is very common, and this drum fill is used to set up a downbeat. So this is a downbeat type of setup for a band, and this is going to be happening on beat 2. Beat 2 is a common hit in a lot of jazz arrangements. Usually the drummer kind of gets his little share of setting up the band, and there's many ways you can set up a band on to the downbeat of 2. But the most common way is basically playing all triplets on all 4 beats, the measure before you actually set them up. And so I'll go ahead and demonstrate that. So if we were going to set up the band on beat 2, this is pretty much a common fill that you would play. So here we go. I'll play 2 bars of time, and then I'll set up the downbeat. Cool. 1, 2, 3. So that's your idea, and notice that I don't have a crash today. I have just a simple setup. I've been working with just the ride, but we could still use this as our crash. But if you do have a crash setup with your drum set, go ahead and use that crash symbol there. So again, when you set up the downbeat of 2, this usually has a very big setup from the drummer. And all I'm playing is triplets, so again, 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly. Usually it's a big crescendo in the measure, so you want to really start soft and open it up to a big setup. So there's two ways that you can play it. Usually if you have the chops, if you want to build up your chops, you can try it with both hands, playing 1 measure of triplets, so it sounds like this. So notice how I go 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly, 1, 2, right? So the 1, what you would accent, so you play triplets, and then you would accent the 1, and then crash on 2. So that's one way. So if you want to try that real quick, go ahead and pause the video. Let me play it 1 more time, and then you go ahead and give it a try. Go ahead and try it. So that's one variation of our fill. The second variation is playing the triplets on snare, and on the 4th triplet we would play right, left, right. Obviously we're alternating, but we would play snare, tom, tom, and bass. That kind of refers back to the old fill that another fill that I gave you on the other video called the Deputy Dog, which is where you play triplet and then I take on the downbeat, and then you set up the end. But check this out, we're not setting up the end this time. So it would be on beat 2. So I'm going to demonstrate it real quick. I'll play 2 bars of time, and then I'll have you try it. 1, 2, 3. So we have cool. So we're not doing this. That would be the upbeat. We're going to be playing the downbeat. So there's a little bit of a bigger space there. So you have, sorry about that. So you have 4 lolly 1, 2, right? 4 lolly 1 and 2. So if our tempo was 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, right? Cool. And keep in mind, as you just saw my mistake right now, if you're going to play that fill, you have to start on the left hand. Unless you're a left-handed drummer, then you start on the right so you can make that transition. So notice I start on the left hand for the triplets so that I can be able to play right, left, right, and then because if you start on right, left, right, you have to double that, and that would kind of be a little uncomfortable. You can do it. It's not. I'm not saying you can't. But you always, whenever you're playing, percussion or a drum set or anything, you always want to try to play as comfortable as you can and not try to, play some kind of weird sticking. So with this being said, you're going to want to start on the left. So you have this again. So that's the second variation. So again, the first variation is with the tom and the snare. The floor tom and the snare. The first variation, yes, is with the floor tom and the snare. The second variation is with the snare and then your deputy dog fill. Now the third variation is just a good old snare. There's no kick, no nothing. And so it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, cool. So again, you have 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly, 1, 2, right? And notice how I play a kick on all my crashes. That's probably a very important thing whenever you're playing drum set, because if you play a cymbal by itself, yeah, it sounds good, but it might sound a little dull, and you want to have not just all those high frequencies, you also want to get some low end. So take a listen real quick and see which one sounds better. 1, 2, 3, here's the one with the bass. As you can see, it just sounds a little bit more fuller. It just brings that low end with the bass drum, and it balances out the frequencies. So, again, the third variation, you play snare, you can play this. Now you can play this, you can start on any hand. So you can start on the right, or you can start on the left. Again, kind of like the first variation where we accent on the 1, same deal here on the snare. So you have, and then you hit your crash. I'm gonna go ahead and play each variation, and then I want you to go ahead and give it a try. Cool? So I'll be playing 2 bar time between each variation. Cool? 1, 2, 3. Now you go ahead and give it a try. Try all 3 variations. Do it like I just did, where you play 2 measures between, so that you have enough time to set it up. And then we'll go ahead and continue. Cool. So I hope you enjoyed that little drum fills. Setting up on beat 2, the downbeat of 2, as well as the recovery variations. You can also work on that. Make it your own, definitely. And so now this last topic we're going to talk about is going with different downbeats and upbeats on the snare. So not all the time we're going to be playing a fill to set up a figure in the jazz chart, in the jazz band chart. And usually if you have your music already, or if you have something to look at, you'll notice that some composers they write, for us drummers, they write the figures on top of the measures. And so maybe they'll have something like, I don't know. So, you can definitely feel, from the measure before, but sometimes it's best to just play that, and match the articulation of the band. So, a lot of times, people play the hits on the snare, and I'll go ahead and demonstrate this real quick. Just kind of show you some different hits that are common in the jazz band world, and then we'll go ahead and break it down. So here we go. 1, 2, 1. So if you were watching, you probably noticed that I was basically playing. It was almost like if I was playing a melody on the snare, and we, definitely, there's gonna be figures, in your music that are gonna have, maybe similar rhythms that I just played. But a good way to practice that, to be ready, not only because you wanna be able to see it visually, but if you can hear it already in your head, even like looking ahead and be like, oh, I know where that's going to land, that's even better. So a good exercise I like to do, and I teach it to all my, beginner students, is, learning how to divide each measure and move the beat down. So we're gonna start with the downbeats first. So if you know already, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Downbeats. And all we're going to do is we're going to play one downbeat for each measure. We're going to have 4 measures, but each measure will move down a quarter note. So the first one obviously will be 1, and then the next one will be B2, the next one will be B3, and then so on, B4, right? And the point of this is to be able to keep your jazz ride pattern as well as your 4 on the floor on the bass drum and 2 and 4 on the hi-hat. It's very crucial to be able to keep that going because then, remember what I told you in the earlier videos, is that everybody will listen to the ride. This is what they listen to, the ride and the hi-hat, to be able to stay in time, right? So if you're not solid here and you're trying to play a bunch of stuff here, it might not work out. So that's why this exercise is very helpful, and it'll be able to spark your hearing and being able to distinguish these rhythms right away. So I'm going to go ahead and play the downbeat exercise first. I'll play it a couple times so you see how it goes. So again, downbeats, we move it down a quarter note each measure. Cool? So what you can do is you can start off with the ride pattern, or you can just start right on it if you want a challenge. But I like to start it off, with some time and then, come in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to do 2 bars and then we'll be in. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So, as you can see, I looped it, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, right? And that 4, 1, that's looping it, right? So the point of this is to be able to play, to be able to keep the ride pattern going as well as your feet and your legs, and then think about, okay, here's the next downbeat hitting, right? And you can work that up to speed. You can start off 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Sorry. Before I say that, you can again, you can start off with time and then you can go right into it. So I'll start off with time real quick just for the sake of it. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. again, you can work that up to speed and be able to play that exercise as fast as you want. But again, the goal is to be able to recognize and hear where these figures are in the measure. So that's the downbeat one. And again, go ahead and pause the video so you can give it a couple of tries before we move on to the next lesson. So yeah, with that being said, go ahead and pause the video, give this a try, and then when you're ready, come back and we'll get into the last part. Cool, so I hope you had a good exercise doing the downbeat variations of the snare with the ride pattern and the beat. So now we're going to go ahead and do the upbeats. So it's kind of a similar idea. The only difference is that we're on the upbeats, and again we're moving the eighth note down. So the first measure will be and of 1 or te of 1. Next measure will be te of 2. The measure after that, te of 3, and the measure after that, te of 4. And then you loop it again. So let me go ahead and play it real quick, and then you can get the idea. Ready? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Cool. So again, we start off with the upbeat of 1, right? The te of 1, and keep in mind this is all swinging. So we have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and, right? We're not gonna play it straight. We're not gonna be 1 and 2 and 3 and we're playing it swinging, right? So when you're doing this again, you want to keep the ride pattern going as well as your feet on hi-hat 2 and 4, 4 and 4 on the bass drum. And you want to go ahead and play the 4 measure exercise starting on the upbeat of 1, upbeat of 2, next measure, upbeat of 3, upbeat of 4, right? And so, yeah, so that's a good exercise as long as with the downbeat, and you can even combine them. So now the last part of it, I'm going to combine them so you can see how you can put them all together. And then we'll go ahead and conclude this lesson. Cool? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. So, as you can see, I put the downbeats and the upbeats together. As I was moving the measures down, right, I played a different beat every time. So this is a good exercise again to be able to start recognizing the figures and know where they land in the measure and how they sound like the different upbeats, the different downbeats. So yeah, so go ahead and work with that as well as the drum fills that I showed you. And definitely stay tuned. I will be continuing to post lessons. We'll probably start getting into some different types of styles that you need to know, some essential grooves, and different fills and different ideas. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and I'll see you in the next one.